Give a new twist to decorative stitches. Wind decorative thread on your bobbin and sew on the wrong side of the fabric. Presto! You'll have the look of hand-sewn embroidery sewn with ease at your sewing machine. Our little girl's outfit showcases this novel approach to working with decorative stitches. It's called Bobbin Work. I'd like to show you how. Many of us have sewing machines with lots of decorative stitches, but don't always use them. Here's a great way of giving a new twist to decorative stitches, bobbin work. As you saw in our little girl's dress, we've chosen some decorative stitches, open stitches that coordinate with the fabric that I chose. We've added it to the top, this asymmetrical top, and also to the hemline of the pants. I think it's kind of cute. The decorative stitch framed with straight stitches. We chose a pattern from Indigo Junction. The Uptown Tops and Trousers set has many options. We've chosen, as I mentioned, the asymmetrical style. It's fun to work with. Now, bobbin work, it can be sewn on almost any sewing machine. Because we're working with decorative thread in the bobbin, not in the top, we have to do a little bit of adjustment. Change the tension in the bobbin case, tighten the upper tension. That's certainly doable, but there's also another way to make it a lot easier. Baby Lock has a bobbin work accessory kit, and in this kit you'll get a special bobbin case that's calibrated for decorative heavy threads, and then a cover that will keep the bobbin from bouncing around, which so often happens when you have a heavy thread in the bobbin case. So obviously that's what I have, and I'm going to insert it into my machine. I've removed the insert from my koala cabinet, and I'm just going to pop out the cover plus the case. I'm taking out the cover to the bobbin case as well. So take those two out right now. Put the cover from the bobbin case aside. We're not going to use that during this session. And then remove the traditional bobbin case. It's charcoal in color. So again, set this aside. Put it in your sewing machine drawer. In the specialty box, you're going to get a bobbin case that's lighter gray in colors. It's color-coded so that you can differentiate it from the traditional case. And then you're going to slip this into the area, slip it in, and it will then be covered by the traditional machine cover. So we'll just slide this into place. Before I put the bobbin in, I want to do a little discussion about the threads. The bobbin is wound with the decorative Decorative 6 thread, heavyweight thread from Madeira. Wind several bobbins while you're at it, because for a project like the project we made, we used about 3 to 4 bobbins. So just wind it in the traditional manner. Then insert the bobbin, following your instructions, in the case, and we'll just follow the thread guide, cut the thread. Now you may notice that I have matching thread to the bobbin in the needle. So it's the same color, but I'm going to draw up the bobbin thread. It's important right now to draw it up. So turn the wheel by hand so that you're drawing up the thread. Since the thread is heavy, you're going to have to kind of have a lasso. You're going to pull it from underneath the needle and on top of the eye. So you're going to use both hands to pull up the bobbin thread, and here it is. It's coming up, so I'll just grab the tail and put a little further and push it to the back. Now before sewing, I better cover it, and this cover comes along with the specialty box. Now the reason it's important to use is that on the underside are 2 little notches and appendages that stick out, and that keeps that bobbin from bouncing up and down in the bobbin case, which so often happens when you're using decorative thread. So I'll put the thread aside, my awl, and then place back the insert of my cabinet. Now when working with decorative stitches, I'm going to be choosing a stitch and look at all the decorative stitches that are available. And one of the key areas to consider is to work with something that's open. You don't want something that's heavy, that has satin stitches. We want to delete that. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go back, and I'm going to delete those stitches because they're too heavy, and select stitch number 100. That's the stitch that we used. Just page through all the options that are available, and stitch number 100 will come up, and you'll see that it's airy. You saw that stitched out on the garment. Now the tension is next. We need to tighten the upper tension. Generally the tension is set about 3.6. As you can see here, we're going to tighten that tension to around the 7 range. 7, 7.4, that seems to be the area that we worked with that worked so well. So we've tightened the tension, we have drawn up the bobbin thread. I'll just close the top of it and then do a little stitching, doing some testing. Now when testing, make certain that you have the same fabric that you plan to work with as far as stabilizers or interfacing on your sample piece. I have 2 layers of stabilizer. One is a fusible that's going to stay in the garment, a fusible interfacing, and the portion that I just peeled away is an iron-on tearaway stabilizer from Baby Lock. And I have those 2 areas. After I'm done with the stitching, I'll remove the tearaway stabilizer and keep the fusible interfacing on place. It may not be necessary to always have the fusible interfacing, but because I have lightweight fabric, I'm going to use that. Now on my test, I'm going to show you how to work with this. It's very simple. You're going to be sewing, instead of from the right side of the fabric, you're going to be sewing from the underside of the fabric. I have a line drawn on my fabric because that's going to be my guideline. And as I sew this, I'm going to place the presser foot on top of the line and stitch. You can't really see what's happening because you just see the light, in this instance, yellow thread that's sewing on the top, and what the magic is happening underneath. Now that line that I have marked for a straight line, you can see I'm not always going to have underneath the presser foot. I just have it parallel with the presser foot at all times. So just let the machine do its stitching from side to side. It's a wide stitch, about 7 millimeters wide, so let it stitch and just gently guide it as it goes along. As you guess, I've stitched this before, so I have done the testing in advance. And after stitching, I'm going to raise the needle, raise the presser foot, and not clip the threads automatically. I'm going to clip them with my scissors because I find that way I have a tail that I can work with. And here's my stitch. It has lots of dimension to it because it has that decorative thread in the bobbin. Now when we worked with our sample, we found that after doing 1 row of stitching, it needed a little bit more. And a little bit more was framing it with a straight stitch on both sides using a different color thread. Again, we tightened the tension and stitched on either side. Now another option, after doing the designing, thought we're going to make covered buttons. Why not add a decorative stitch to the covered buttons? But that wide decorative stitch was a little bit too wide for our purposes. So here you can see that on these covered buttons that are sewn to the front, and then we have snaps sewing them to the underside, we have a smaller stitch. And we've done the smaller stitch because we have the ability of working with a tension or an option on our Baby Lock. And on this you'll find that we're able to choose a different stitch. And when I go through this area, you'll see that there's an L and an S. And with this L and an S, it can change the large to a smaller stitch and shrink it down. So I can change this and add more and more of the smaller stitches all the way down. So just do the same stitching. Stitch again a decorative stitch and then frame it on both sides with a straight stitch and use this fabric that still has the fusible interfacing to cover the buttons. Now there's more. I just showed you straight stitch and 1 stitch, stitch number 100 on my machine. But why not, when you have your machine set up for decorative stitching, do a sample. Use different threads, test out different stitches, and then make notes on the underside. The tension you had, the stitch number it is, and you can see it's a beautiful stitch. It really does look like handwork. I'd like to show you a couple of the other threads that I worked with. This is the Decorative 6 variegated, and I can wind that by machine on the bobbin. Again, wind lots of bobbins at once. Another option is to use thread that is traditionally used for hand crewel work. This is a silk thread by Madeira. Because it's not on a spool, We can wind it to the bobbin by hand and it works just in the same manner. So you have lots of options when working with a new twist, working with your decorative threads. Change the tension in your bobbin or use a specialty case. Use decorative threads in the bobbin, matching thread in the top, tighten the tension, and then sew from the underside. And with these simple guidelines, you have lots of creativity and a new twist in working with decorative threads. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to give a new twist to decorative stitches with Bobbin Work. To learn more about the products used in this video, along with my favorite sewing machines, visit your participating Baby Lock retailer. Tell them Nancy sent you.